and 01700. By the way, those will be the numbers you will use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, thought that get results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed 1-869-469-1616 and 01700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so that you're well organized. When you're getting on the show, we take as little time as possible so we can accommodate as many of you as we can. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. You can also follow the video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Von Radio, on our YouTube channel, Von Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community, talk that get results. And this is not just talk. I said your voice in the community, and tonight we'll be featuring a community organization that has been going from as long as I can remember, maybe even shorter than that. Sir Eric Evelyn is the Deputy Premier of Nevis. Before that, he's always been around here with us. And before that, I want to tell you something about him before he became the Deputy Prime Minister and all that and went into politics. As he got into politics, people tell him he must change. He'll tell you about that. But the part I told him not to change was the dancing. But he doesn't know yet, and he will not know the real reason why. So everybody argues he mustn't dance. When people keep telling you don't do something, think about it. Now, all politicians are dancing, even Trump. So, Eric, good evening. You see him dance, Eric?
No, I don't believe he can dance.
Well, you're the king of dance, so you think I can dance?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. That's the reason why I told you keep dancing, so that I could.
Good evening, Webbo. It's always a pleasure to be here on the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean. Of course, I still consider here as my home. So it's always a pleasure to be here, whatever capacity I'm in. It's always good to be here, Webbo, and it's always good to talk to and with the people of Nevis and St. Kitts and the region and the diaspora. So it's indeed a pleasure to be here this evening.
And you got one of your members with you, and I forgot his name. So can you tell us his name, and then we will speak with him?
Well, we're here representing the Empire Sports Club. We're celebrating 45 years, and I have with me the treasurer. He's the man who deals with the money, Mr. Franklin Brown. And so the two of us are here this evening to represent. We should have had two of the members. One is down with the flu. I'm so sorry. I spoke to him today, and he was really down, Mr. Delvin Phillip. Hope you're going to feel much better. And then, well, Clive was supposed to be here as well, but he could not make it at the last minute. So
but I could have told you before the last minute.
He's listening, you know, Webbo.
I know, that's what I said. He probably will end up telling you about the only man who would know me good is Webbo. Because one time we're on the playground, you know, and we have a question going on for nearly an hour.
Yes.
Nobody get it. Clive calls in. Clive gives the answer straight up.
Yes.
So I tell the audience, Clive will know. Then he let out the secret. He said, yeah, me and your brother. But they did not know the answer was in Spanish.
Right.
So that's anyway, that's just a light moment. So yes, Eric, we go to the treasurer.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to the listening public and the viewing public as well. I'm delighted to here with President Eric Evelyn as we celebrate our 45th anniversary, and we are having a lot of activities, and there is much that we have to speak about tonight.
Okay, so Eric, the Empire Sports Club.
Yes, sir.
And it's been going, and you continued with it, notwithstanding that you had gotten into politics. Most people would have gotten out of it. Strange thing. They tend to get into the thing that got them into it.
Well,
but in terms of the community clubs though,
yes.
and organizations and stuff like that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give both of you the opportunity to speak about the club. We know you're doing some big celebrations this month, and you know, stuff that you normally do throughout the year. You know, you have things
Yes.
around culture and you support and stuff like that. And then we're going to get into some discussion
Yes.
about the community groups
Yes.
and try to find out where are they and why are they there.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Brown is we call him the historian of the club. He has been in the club long before me. I think he was in the club from the inception. And so he has some history to talk about, so I'm going to let him go first. He's the historian of the club. He knows a lot more about the cricket than I do. I know I would deal more with the community activities, but I will allow Mr. Brown to go first.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. I entitled the little speech, Empire 45 Years On. The Empire Cricket Club came back on the scene in 1979. That's some 45 years ago. After a long break, the Empire Cricket Club was reformed with some 25 members back then, like the late Denzel Allen being our first captain, Mervyn Hendrickson, Vernon Maynard, Steve Watley, Morris Maynard, Johnson Tyrrell, and myself, Franklin Brown, and many others who formed the club back then, some 45 years ago. By 1981, we entered the second division league here in Nevis with our first manager, Eugene Maynard, who was the one who really encouraged us to revive the club, because at the time we were using the Indian Castle Recreation Ground and it was dormant for a while, and it was about to be used by the government for livestock grazing. And so he encouraged us to get back into cricket, because those who were playing before, you know, they had stopped for quite some time, and we did. And so the club was back on stream. So as we entered cricket back in 1981, the second division, as I said, we then started to play from that very year. But then in 1982, we won our first match in the Division 2. And that was a game that most of our members will always remember, Webbo. Because that was a game we were playing at Grove Park then. It was against Alvan Rovers. Those games were 35 overs. And Alvan Rovers batted first, and they made 121 for 8 in their 35 overs. Empire, in their turn, we were at one stage 48 for 9. And many folks decided that it doesn't make sense to stay here, they are going home because it's all done, dusted. And then came Denzel Brown in to join Raymond Maynard at the crease. And believe it or not, in the second ball of the 34th over, the game was over. Empire won the game by 1 wicket. We ended up 127 for 9. Raymond Maynard was 71 not out, and Denzel Brown was 70 not out. They put on a partnership of 79. And when we got to Hanley's Road and told the folks that we won, they didn't believe us. We had to show them the scorebook for them to believe that we won the game, because they felt that, you know, it was done and dusted, that 48 for 9, it was all over. And so from that Empire Cricket Club, we began to do some great things. Because by 1984, under the leadership of John Evelyn, we won the Division 2 championship. Then in 1988, we won all the matches, and so in the Division 2, and so we were champions. That caused us to be placed into the first division of the Nevis Cricket League. But then when we got promoted there, we didn't do too well because, we had to came up against teams like Pioneers, Jessup, and Brownhill, Easterns, and Knights, and these All-Stars, these teams, were top-class teams, and so we were beaten badly back then. But, we didn't give up. And at one time, the Nevis Cricket Association was suggesting that it might be good to put us back down into second division. But they didn't. And thankfully, they allow us to stay. Because as we stayed in the Division 1, in the 90s, we started to turn the table. In fact, in 1994, we won the first division. Not only that we won the first division, but also we had still a Division 2 team. So we won both championships that year in 1994. Then again in 1995 we won the Division 1, 96 and 97. So 4 consecutive years we were the Division 1 champion on the island. And at that time that was real glory days for us. We had some great players back then, Webbo. We had players back then in the time like Elijah Hall Brown, Colin Mills Jr., Mills, Cardell Waters, Curtis and Corvin Duo. We had John the Dentist Maynard, Clive Villain, Branson Lance, Joel Simmons, Eustace Williams, Anthony Taylor, Wayne Chapman, Earl Buddy, Charles Hendrickson, and Andrew Herbert. So, that was a real powerful team.
You finished with the list? and you make Eric laugh.
You're looking out for on the list,
No, I just checking. That's my job.
Well, you heard Clive Evelyn on the list, right?
That's why I asked if you finished with all Evelyn.
Yes, Clive Evelyn was very much part of it. So, we were really, on top in those times. And along the way, we had some managers of the team, because our first manager of the sports club was Eugene Maynard, as I said before. Then we had Spencer Evelyn. Then came Trevor Chapman. Then came Earl Panko Hanley. Then we had Steadroy Williams, and presently now we have Errol Somerset. So those were the managers over the years, some 6 of them who managed the club over the 45 years.
I don't want to interrupt, but let's okay, fine.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, that was mostly down Hanley's Road area?
Yes, that time we was playing down at the Indian Castle Recreation Ground.
Right.
Which I think Webbo doesn't know that ground. I don't think you know that ground, Webbo.
You'd be surprised to know what I know. No, but what I wanted to ask, in Gingerland there was this other club, Knights.
Yes.
So there's no splinter there. So you were there and Knights were there, or you came after Knights?
No, we were there because Knights were one of the club that we met in the Division 1 league here on the island.
Oh, okay.
But then sometime after, Knights faded away, and then some of the players that used to play for Knights came over to the Empire Sports Club.
Okay, so Knights was in Division 1 and you were in Division 2 at the time?
Way back then, and then we came up into Division 1 and we met Knights.
Work with me. So you were in Division 2
right
when Knights was in Division 1.
That's right.
So that's why those fellas never played against me. Because they were I'm just
well, probably so.
Yes, because they would have been in Division 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And bearing in
people
mind,
like Vance and Elroy and Tony Rollins and those guys were in Knights in Division 1, and Murchie, Augustine Merchant and stuff like that. Next thing you tell me those were the older fellas. We was the older fellas. But I just wanted to know, but you cleared it up. You said that after a while, after Knights broke up, some of the players came with you. So thereafter, it was the only team in Gingerland, the Empire?
Yes, because I think also Eastern also.
Eastern, okay.
Yeah, they faded away as well.
Mhm.
So, Empire was the only one left in Gingerland. So, we grafted in, those other players gravitated towards the Empire Sports Club. And probably maybe that's why in the end, we got so strong.
And so you withstood all the challenges and so on.
Yes,
And as Ginger would say, you're still hanging in.
that's
Still
right.
hanging in.
Okay.
Also along the way, we also won a championship that was played back then during the 90s. I think it was a 40-over league, because that time the Berridge Howell, championship between St. Kitts and Nevis was going on, and they wanted, to get Nevis ready for, these one-day matches, and they had this 40-over competition, and the very first one I remember that Empire won that one. And then during the 90s, we traveled to St. Martin back and forth, and we played against the Performer Cricket Club down there. We were playing for the Dr. Claude Watty Trophy, and many times we won the championship there. We got on the Easter weekend, so we played the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday, so it was a 3-match series, and, we won it a number of times. So, like, if we go down this year, they will come over next year, and, vice versa. But that is, have stopped now, because, the main person who used to organize that has passed. So that, that series, has come to an end quite some time back now. Also, over the years, we took part in some softball league. We also went as far as Antigua in 2001. We entered into the CARICOM Champion of Champions League, and we got as far as quarterfinals in that tournament back there in Antigua in 2001. So, all in all, the Empire Sports Club, we came from, I would say, a humble beginning, and we came up the hard way. We had to learn, by getting a lot of licks on the way, but in the end, we came out a champion team. And another of the game that I would like to highlight, that we did well in. It was in a Division 1 game against Upsetters. That was a team from Fountain, which was captained by Ronald Powell. Then I think he had left All Stars and formed a team over there. And those 2-day games, we played the Saturday and the Sunday. And the Saturday was rained out over in Fountain, and so there was no match on the Saturday. And then the Sunday they went back to play. Those games start from 10. And I wasn't with them then. So when they came back home the evening, I asked how the game went. They told me that they won the game. I said, you got to be joking. You can't win a game in one day, because it's an innings game. You have to have 4 innings. And they told me that they batted first. They made over 200 plus runs. They scored the runs very quickly. Then they declared, sent in Upsetters. They were bowled out by John Dentis Maynard and Clive. And then they sent them back in, and they bowled them out again. And so Empire won by an innings in one day. And, that game, along with that one that I spoke about, those 2 games always stood out in my memory as 2 of the great games that, that Empire won along the way during our 45 years of cricket. Even though other, victories were great victories, those 2 always stood out in my mind.
How those historic things that you are describing, and especially in the area of cricket, the club still participate in cricket?
Very much so.
Do you have any events that 45 years from now you think will make the history books like those events are making it now? Any current events, like great matches?
Well, if I could chime in, Webbo, for the past 3 years, the club has done quite well. In 2021, in January 2021, that's quite recent, we won both the 10-10 and the 2020 tournaments. organized by the Nevis Cricket Association. In 2022 of March of 2022, we placed second in the 2020 tournament, and even though we placed second, we got 3 of the top prizes. We had Andre Brown, who got the most runs, we had Rakesh, who got the most wickets, and we had Andre Brown being the MVP of that tournament. Then in 2023, we won the National Bank 10-10 tournament again. The MVP of the finals was Nelson Boland, and the most catches went to Nelson Boland and a Delvin Phillip. So if you realize the club was doing well way back, and it continues to do well now. Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Eric though,
Yeah.
how is the enthusiasm in the cricket? Because back then, as Mr. Brown described, when you in one day, declare, that's enthusiasm, that's
Yes.
pride and all that. Not with Empire, just with Empire, across the board, even at West Indies level. People are criticizing, even the players, even though they're getting paid and stuff like that. They either the love or the pride isn't there. So how is it with your club, with your guys?
Well, yeah, that's one thing, back then, and I still even find it now that, our guys, we play cricket with a passion. And especially back then, when cricket was, it was a real popular game. It didn't have any money like it have now. But, the guys, we love cricket. When we get home at afternoons from work or from school, you just grab a little thing to eat and you're gone on the play field. And you play until it's dark, because the love was there for the cricket. I find that now, that the players are making money now and a lot of it, and they don't have the love for the game as once ago. So I think that's one of the things, that caused, our guys, to do so well back then. And also, we had a number of these guys. We had about 18 players from Empire that went on to play for Nevis. So that only to show you, how well we did. 18 of them. I don't know if you want me to mention the names.
Sure.
Yeah, we had Cardell Waters, we had John Maynard, that's the dentist, we had Clive Villain, we had Curtis Dorr, we had Branson Lance, we had Nelson Boland, we had Junior Mills, we had Joel Simmons, we had Charles Hendrickson, Andrew Herbert, Earl Buddy, Andre Brown, Delvin Phillip, Wazim Mintos, Trevier Smitten, Kejel Tyson, that's Alan Powell and Kyron Powell. And out of those, Kyron Powell, Joel Simmons and John Maynard along with Nelson Boland went on to play for the Leewards. And then Kyron went on even further and he played for the West Indies in Test cricket. So you see that, Empire, we produce some great players. Out of those 18, I say 1 became a Test player and 4 represented the Leeward Islands. So, it means then that Empire was doing great things.
And if I could just add as well, Webbo, I know you asked the question about the enthusiasm level and so on. And of course, Mr. Brown is right. Yes, back then the passion and the enthusiasm was there. For whatever reason, you don't find it as much now. But however, what we have been trying to do, we have been trying as much as possible to draft more young persons into the club and into the team. Only last year, we would have did a weekend tour to St. Martin last year, July, because we want to build the enthusiasm. We want to give them a little bit more exposure, a little bit more experience, especially the younger players in the team. And so we did that tour. The tour went pretty well. We went on for a weekend. We played a couple of matches against 2 other teams there in St. Martin, and it went very well. And as I said, they were able to get some exposure. And this was just a means of trying to build back the passion, build back the enthusiasm of the cricketers, because of course we know that for whatever reason, apart from the cricketers, the passion for the game is not there as what it used to be, because back then, Webber, when you hear St. Kitts and Nevis playing in the park, the park is bursting at its seams.
That's true.
Now when you hear St. Kitts and Nevis in the park, hardly anybody is in the park.
Well, I might describe it this way. You don't even hear St. Kitts and Nevis playing.
That is true.
That's true.
All right, Mr. Brown, you could continue with that information, your information.
Yeah, so I was saying, with these players, went on to play for the Leeward Islands and, and the West Indies. But what I would say now that, as President Eric just said, that with the young players that we have, I must commend the present manager, Errol Somersault, that's Suki, because what I notice he does that any young players that he see with any little potential around the Gingerland area, he try to, to draft them into the sports club so that, get them involved in into the cricket, because, from a young age, and there's, a few of the young ones, I think he have about 4 of them now that he's working with, and, bring them up so that as they, come up along with those more mature and senior players, in the years to come, probably in another 10, 15 years, you might hear these young players representing Nevis, representing the Leeward, and who knows, maybe the West Indies. So, it's a good thing that, manager Somersault is doing right now with this sports club by, taking in all these young players and molding them so that they could be the future for the club.
In terms of membership, how strong are you?
Well, presently we have at least 30 members, and we started with just a male club, but now we have females on board as well. So we have at least, I think it's 8 females in the club, and so we have a membership of about 30.
Sorry, Webbo,
yes.
apart from the 30 registered club members, some of those members don't include the cricketers.
That's right.
So you still have the cricketers,
Okay.
right, who are not really drafted into the club per se, but they still play for Empire Cricket. Empire, they play for Empire, but they are not registered members per se in the club.
But that's where I was going next, in that we've been speaking a lot about cricket.
Yes.
And so where I was heading next, but I'm not trying to curtail the historical aspect, continue, but along the way, I wanted to know if you do other stuff.
A lot of other stuff, which I'm going to deal with.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Mr.
All right.
Historian is dealing more with the cricket.
Okay, which is, I like to hear that.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
You finish?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Brown, Mr. Franklin Brown, as I said, he has been in the club from the inception, Mr. Herbert. I would have been in the club. I joined the club in 2000. And I would have joined the club because in 1999, the club celebrated its 20th anniversary. And when the club celebrated its 20th anniversary, they had an awards dinner up at Hideaway Disco. And I was asked to be the chairperson for that awards dinner. And then after that, I was encouraged to become a member of the club. I remember Mr. Brown here was one of the persons who encouraged me to become a member of the club. And of course, at that time, I was always involved in youth work ever since I was in school. At one point in time, I was in a club in Gingerland, a very active club, the Hardest Hard Forage Club. I was the secretary of that club for many years. I was also part of the Nevis Youth Council. I also served on the executive of the Nevis Youth Council. And so I would have been involved in youth and community work and volunteerism for a very long time. And so after I was asked to become a part of that club, I said, well, of course, I'm going to join. And so I entered the club in 2000, and I don't know, it seems as though Mr. Brown had a plan for me, because as soon as I entered the club, I became the president in 2000, right? And I have been the president of the club since that. So I've been the president of the club for the past 24 years. And when I entered the club, I suggested to the club that, rather than just focusing on cricket, because at one point in time we did some football as well, Mr. Brown.
Yes.
But it was mainly cricket. And I made the suggestion, let us do some work in the community as well. And so I said, rather than just being a sports-based club, I still call the Empire Sports Club, and rather just focusing on sports, let us do some things in the community. And of course, the club took that suggestion on board, and so since then we have become a full-fledged community organization as well. And we do a lot of work in the community, Mr. Herbert. And I'm going to outline some of the stuff that we do in the community in terms of the general work. And as would have been mentioned, the club is based in Hanley's Road. However, we do have some members who are not from Hanley's Road. And of course, we welcome members from any part of the island. If you're interested in becoming a part of the Empire Sports Club, we welcome you with open arms. But I would say over 90% of the members are in Hanley's Road, because there is where the club started, and that is where the club is based. And so we do most of our work in the Hanley's Road area. And so in terms of what we do generally in Hanley's Road, we are the ones that are responsible for many years now for organizing the Christmas tree lighting every year. Of course, we know that that is an integral part of some communities now. Some communities insist that they must have a Christmas tree lighting every year. Hanley's Road is one of those communities. And if there's no lighting in a particular year, the members of the community get very upset. And so the club is the one that organizes this activity every year. I must say as well that we do have a large live tree which was donated way back. It was planted there at that spot right there at the community center ground in Hanley's Road, and there is where we do our lighting every year. So during the lighting we pay homage to people in Hanley's Road. Normally we give gifts to persons who would have graduated recently, and so that is an integral part of what we do in the community in Hanley's Road.
Eric, permit me to ask, because I'm listening.
Yes.
And I'm getting the feel that this has remained an old-fashioned community club,
Yes.
meaning it seems as if it's managed by, not by government, but by the community.
Of course.
Because, and you understand what I mean when
Yes.
I say the old-fashioned
Yes.
community. It seems like the folks themselves take care of their stuff.
Of course.
All right.
And that is why, Webbo, we decided to come here on Let's Talk as well, because I keep telling the club members that we ought to be very proud of this organization. We have a story to tell, and people need to hear, because
That's true.
These are the times now, Webbo, when clubs are scarce, when volunteerism is scarce. Nobody wants to do any work in the community unless they are paid, and we want that spirit. We want that community spirit to continue, and I think we have been successful enough so far. We have still work for us to do, but we want that community spirit to remain in Hanley's Road. We want our community to stand out, and we believe in getting it to stand out. The club is what is there to lead, and so that is what we have been trying to do.
So Eric, if you want to be open and encourage others, then what do they do? Because in fact, I heard, I think it was the Premier's news conference, the last one, and somebody had asked a question, and he was making the point that every sporting organization that has a function or have to leave and whatever, the government basically funds 100%
Yes.
of it. And he was making the point that nobody raise, the clubs and organization don't help themselves or raise anything and stuff like
Well,
that.
I'm happy you made that point. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was just asking you now to let the others know then some pointers in how they can, survive the way you do.
And I'm happy. Let me speak just quickly. You made a point about the fundraising, because I had it here to mention as well. I spoke earlier about the weekend tour that we went to St. Martin for, right? And the club was able to raise, because we do fundraising sometimes every year, and we also send out letters to ask for assistance, because we do spend some money in the community as well. And the club was able to raise almost $17,000 for the club for those cricketers to go to St. Martin. We raised $16,784 just by our efforts. You know, and so but Webbo, the thing is, when you're in these community organizations, you have to be committed.
Yes.
You have to be dedicated. It's hard work, trust me. But as I said, I have been in it for practically all of my life, and I love it. And that is why even when I got into politics, I told the members, listen, I came up in through this club and I'm not leaving this club. I will not leave because I want this club to survive. I want this club to stand out. I want Hanley's Road to stand out as a community, and the community club has to stand out. And so, of course, we have seen a lot of clubs that have come up and fallen by the wayside. As I mentioned before, people have become individualistic, Webbo. People don't want to help in the community anymore. They see everybody wants to when we were growing up, Webbo, I'm sure you remember, during Christmas time, everyone cleaned up in front their house, right? Now, all the communities, persons want to cut, but everybody wants to get paid. So even in front of people's homes, they are not cleaning it. They want the government to come in to clean it.
Yeah, if I could preface what I'm saying by borrowing a little line from Edric W. Stanley. With that, to strengthen your point, I will give you a little story. When I came back here, you know, when we started here at Vaughan, a community group came to me and said, well, they were like a donation.
Yes.
Well, I had the training and the background that you are speaking about, because you just said when we were coming up.
Right.
So I thought, well, this is a brilliant idea, you know, to with this group. So I said to them, how about we do this? The beach that is down there next to us, you take that on and you keep it and you clean it whenever is necessary, and you'll always get a check.
Yes.
The rest is history. But you know, I thought it was a great idea.
Right.
Yes.
Because how we grew up and stuff like that. I mean, Eric, as you say, when we're coming up, if you get an offer like that, man,
Of course.
that's like gold.
You're running with it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So instead of that, the amount of cost I get.
Well,
So I learned.
and since you're talking about cleaning, Webbo, and one of the other things we do now and again, we do some cleanup in our village. I mean, Mr. Brown could remember. I remember many years ago, a couple of times we get together on a Saturday morning. Everybody come out. We organize some food and some drinks, and people come out, and you know, in the spirit of cleaning, and we do that. And of course, we continue to do village cleanups. At one point in time, we had come together as a community and built some bin holders. I'm sure you remember, Mr. Brown,
Yes.
for people to put their bins in. You know, only recently they would have had this best kept village competition. Our club came together. We did what we had to do. We cleaned, we plant flowers, we do things, we try to do some beautification, and we won the competition because the club has always been together, and that is nothing new for the club to do. That is what we have been doing on many times.
You know, Eric, I want to interject here and encourage you to continue this outreach, because I think that spirit is still there,
Yes.
where people really want to do what your club is doing. And the reason why I say it is because, you know, we do the playground,
Yes.
especially for the kids around Christmas time. And it's amazing how much people will come forward and say, well, you know, we'll send something for you for the things you're doing with the kids or whatever and stuff like that. So
Right.
people are still in that spirit,
Yes.
right? So I think what you're doing here, and you continue to do the outreach and stuff like that, let people know what you're doing.
Of course.
And you can continue with maybe that's a strategy and an approach to the get it done.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Another thing we would have done in the village, Mr. Herbert, we would have done some signage. I remember one evening when we had a club meeting, we decided, well, we have a lot of areas in Hanley's Road that have names, and so persons generally would not know. And so the club decided we're going to come up with an idea to do some signage from the main Hanley's Road thoroughfare coming down. And we got the signs made. And here again, I mean, I have to commend as well, because the club got the signs made, but when it was time to get the signs erected, one of the 25 most remarkable teens, who is from Hanley's Road, who is Mr. Brown's daughter, she took on that as a project to erect the signs. And so she, along with her father and the God of the assistants, they erected the signs. And the signs now are there. They glow at nights. So even you come to Hanley's Road in the night and somebody tell you, well, they're giving you directions, they only have to tell you, look for the sign. And so that in essence as well is another, I would say, excellent project that the club has done.
If when you're encouraging other clubs to form or to continue and do what you're doing for a long period of time, how would you advise them to deal with the naysayers? Because one of the things that obviously will happen is that your club can well sit aside and say, well, why should we be up and down raising funds when everybody else just go to the representative or go to government and get this and do what they're doing? So but you would hear that, but you don't bother with that. You can. So what would you say how people should deal with the naysayers who discourage them from doing what you do the way you do it?
Well, I would always tell persons you need to stay focused, because we're living in an age now, Webbo, where, I mean, everything you do, you're going to get naysayers. And if you stop and you listen to all the naysayers, you will absolutely never move. And so once you make your plan, what you decide what you're going to do, we decide, well, listen, this is what we are going to do, this is what we have to achieve. You just have to stay focused, and you have to try to encourage the other members of the group to stay focused as well, Webbo, because sometimes some members of the group may get sidetracked by the naysayers. So you have to at all times be encouraging the members of the group. Listen, we have a mandate. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want to achieve. And let us stay focused on what we are doing. We need to, at most of it, we need to block out. We need to block out the noise and block out the naysayers. Sometimes it's difficult to do, I'm telling you. Sometimes it's difficult to do. But you just have to just look ahead and stay focused and say, well, listen, we want to achieve this, we want to do this, and irrespective of what people are going to say, we're going to move ahead.
And maybe you think I could offer a pointer?
Of course.
Well, maybe sometimes when they come, you could say something like this. Like someone was telling me something today that somebody else said. I said, the problem is that a person they talk too much.
And you know,
so they didn't give me no more of the story.
Right, and you know the strangest thing is, Webbo, you know what is the strangest thing? The people who are criticizing you or the club, they are involved in absolutely nothing to assist the community. Nothing whatsoever. And it is funny because, I mean, as I said, you are there trying to do things. The club is there trying to do things. And you have people who are going to criticize you. They're going to criticize the club. But what are they involved in?
Yeah, but
nothing.
Forgive me for always talking about Edric, but when you come along with some... Because even the Let's Talk program, when we started earlier, and we have Edric on the record many times saying, he would have told me privately, but he would say how people used to come by his shop and discourage him from participating on the program just because they wanted to kill it. Right,
of course.
But Edric, was of a different, mentality and so on. So you're right. So they have to, be encouraged, right?
Of course. We have to constantly encourage. So as I said, we did this great project in terms of doing the signage. And I remember one Saturday morning I was walking with a group of persons. Most of them were not from Hanley's Road, and they were amazed because they were saying, I didn't realize that Hanley's Road had in so many little sub villages. They had no idea of some of these names, and practically all of the little sub villages down there, they have the names. So if you drive down there anytime, you can see. And so that is a great thing that I think that the club did on its own without asking for any assistance from anybody. Also, prior to the village contest recently, and as a matter of fact, we did a mural project in Hanley's Road, and this actually should have been done since 2 years ago. It was delayed, and it should have been done since 2 years ago. And here again, we did a mural. We have a bus stop down there, and it was done through the club. No expense at all to the club, but it was done through the initiative of the club again.
You think people would say, or do people say that because you are in government is the reason why your club is able to do so much on certain things?
But whether we were doing it before I got in government.
Right. Work with me. But the question I'm asking is if do you get that?
Yes, I saw it in the essays. Say it.
Because even with the signs, I haven't seen them yet.
Yes.
Because I haven't had a good reason to go down Hanley's Road in the night as yet. Because I don't know if you tell.
The only problem we've heard about the only little criticism we've heard is that the signs are a little low. But apart from that little criticism, it is a genuine criticism actually. The signs are indeed a little low. But apart from that, people really give us a lot of kudos for that signage project.
Right, but the truth is that when I see signs, for instance, they have some other signs around Charlestown.
Yes.
People will, because of how the society is now, including myself, will quickly think that it is the government that did it.
Yes.
And that's what Yes,
let me butt in here. Because when myself and my daughter was erecting the signs, apparently when I think it was Reliable Motors who did them for us, the signs were did with a blue background, and because the present party color is blue. First night we were putting them up, and on Sunday afternoon somebody asks, "What, the government paying y'all to put up these signs?" I tell them no. I said, "Why you ask a question?" They say, "Well, you see all of them blue." I said, "That's nothing to do with government. We got the signs and we were putting them." So it was not a government initiative project. And just as you asked the question, you mean with Eric, that over the years, I can't recall that you ever went to government to ask for any help at all. We always try to raise our own fund to do everything. So even though Eric is in government now, we don't even remember that Eric is part of the government when he comes around the Empire Sports Club. We just look at Eric as a regular member like all the others of us. So we don't depend on government to help us. We try to raise our own fund. We pay our our subscription, and that's how the club gets its revenue.
Okay, and I just spoke about the mural project. Another thing we did recently as well, Webbo. I remember when we coming up to Culturama. We were everybody was trying to spruce up their village and so on. Everybody was coming home, and we realized that the center line in the road, that white center line, had faded dramatically because Hanley's Road was done quite a few years back. And we took it upon ourselves, and we wrote a letter. We wrote a sorry paving, and said, "Well, listen, we want our center line remarked," and we got it done. We didn't go to the government.
Right.
So it was the initiative of the club again. It was the initiative of the club, and these things may sound simple, eh?
They're not simple. It teaches you how to get things done.
Right.
Put another way, it teaches you how to do talk that get results.
Right. And that is why we keep saying people need to be active and do things for your community. Webbo, as I said, it's a lot of things I have here. So bear with me. It's a lot of things the club is doing. It's a lot of things we're into.
I'm working with you.
Right?
That's why, you should always regularly, as you say, you say you all have made a commitment to get this stuff out.
Yes.
From time to time.
Yes. In terms of our outreach to children and young people, Webbo, every year, for a very long time, but I did mention that we do this Christmas tree lighting, but every year we have a little Christmas party for the children of Hanley's Road and the surrounding areas. That has been going for quite some time as well. We don't do it during the Christmas tree lighting. We normally do it like the 1st or the 2nd of January. And I have to commend Arlene and Joyce. They are the persons who would have started it, and you have some other members who are chiming in now, but they insist that they have to do this little party for the children of Hanley's Road every year, and that is very commendable as well. We spoke about cricket in terms of our outreach to the young people and trying to get more young people trained and so on now. And one of the highlights of the club in terms of its outreach to young people, in 2004 we started this program called the Boys Together for Change, Webbo, and that is a feather in the cap of the Empire Sports Club. We started this program in 2004, and it was targeting young boys from 12 years and up, because we realized that we were getting into an era where there was quite a bit of crime springing up on the island. Hanley's Road has always been known to be a safe community, and we thought that we wanted to remain that way. We realized that a lot of young boys were getting involved in antisocial behavior and that sort of things, and we did not want the young boys of Hanley's Road to get involved in that kind of antisocial behavior. And so the club would have started something in 2004 where we drafted in the young persons from 12 years up, those mostly going to high school, in this club. And we had the club and we organized it. We met once per month, and what we did, we called in different persons to speak on different subject areas every month and try to keep the boys focused. Try to keep them focused. We brought in people to talk on diet, on health, on drugs, the effects on drugs on the body, and everything you can think about. And we had that club going for quite some time, Webbo. And what we did, we contacted the parents. We wanted the parents to be on board. The parents were on board. We sold the idea, told them, well, listen, we want your children to be a part of this group because we want them to stay out of trouble. They staying out of trouble, it's going to benefit you as well, because you won't have to spend all this money to pay a lawyer and that sort of stuff. And so the parents were very much on board. And so they sent their young boys to the group every month, and I must say that over 26 young boys would have benefited from that program. And Webbo, I have to say that I am extra proud of some of those boys or young men now who would have passed through that group, because I could say that I think the club got almost 100% success rate when it comes to that. And I just want to highlight some of the boys who passed through that program, because I think, as I said, they are outstanding members of the community. We have David Brown, who works with the Finnish Touch. We have Derry Hendrickson, who works at Four Seasons and also is local preacher at the Wesleyan Church. We have Kitaro Evelyn, who works at Four Seasons as well, outstanding worker, wonderful young man. We have Romario Daniel, who is now a doctor, who graduated in Jamaica, I think it was last year. And I recall when Romario went to Jamaica first to study, I remember he sent me a message and he said, I'm going to be transferring to another degree or something like that. And he said, I want you to write a recommendation. And you know what he said? When you write that recommendation, make sure you put in that recommendation that I was a part of that boys group. That was in Hanley's Road. And now Romario is a doctor. We have Sharon the Merchant, very good young man as well, making some excellent strides in his work. We have Akian Williams, we have Tyrell Gittings, we have Calden Maynard, who is now running his own little business. We have Tishon Maynard, who is an outstanding teacher at the Gingerland Secondary School. We have Teshron Maynard, who is now came in and now a supervisor in the work, one of the work gangs there at the social services department. We have Desani Maynard, we have Clive Maynard, we have Trevin Maynard, we have Kijano Hamilton, we have had Deshaun Phillip, we have Trevin and Trevor Nisbet, who are now residing in the US. We have Delvis Pemberton, who was an outstanding athlete, very good work at Four Seasons as well. We have Shukri Rogers, and I have to pause here for this one, Dalvon Williams. Now, Dalvon Williams, and I don't think he will get upset with me if he hear me says this. Dalvon Williams was a little trouble hand. And, you know, we took that young man in hand, Webbo. And I was so proud when I heard. And, you know, these programs actually can make a difference in people's life, because if we didn't take Dalvon in hand, I don't know where Dalvon would have been now. And when I heard Dalvon went into the police force, I was proud. Now, he has now gone to Barbados to study law. And I know his parents are very proud as well. And they wanted to give up on him, and I tell him, no, you can't give up on Dalvon, you have to hold on. You know? And so, when you see these kind of products, you feel good, because the club would have worked hard with these young men. We have Kejari Grant, we have Vincent Maynard Jr., I can't remember his name, but Sensi's son. And you know, these young men, they have all come out good, Webbo. And as I said, we have almost 100% success rate, because of all of these young men who passed through this program. I think probably only one may have been in the trouble with the law at one point in time, just one. And so I believe if it wasn't for this program that was organized by this club, I don't know where some of these young persons would have been right now. And I have to say as well, because I see our club as a trendsetter, because we're hearing a lot about now the boys mentorship program and so on. We did this program, and when this program was done, nothing was around where that was concerned. So I believe this program was an excellent trendsetter for what we have now in terms of the boys mentorship program and so on. I remember when we did this program, the late Joseph Liebert loved the program, and then he started something at the Joycelyn Liebert Primary School. And so we are the trendsetters in not only this, but in other areas that I'm also going to mention as well. And so in terms of the outreach to young people, that was an excellent program. We have as well, Webbo, we have the Aquatic Extravaganza. That is one of our main fundraisers every year. That is a part of Culturama. We have it there on the waterfront. And this again, it started out very simple. Because, you know, we started out with mostly the greasy pole and just a little swimming. But it has grown tremendously now. And we should be proud, because swimming is now becoming very popular. And many of those swimmers who actually are going overseas to represent Nevis and St. Kitts, they compete there at the waterfront every year. We have young Skylar Connor, who got a medal at the OECS Championships recently. And she has been swimming at the aquatics event for several years. Troy Nisbet, who went to the Olympics, he would have swam there as well. And so this program, this event that the Empire Sports Club organizes every year, it is also assisting in developing the swimming ability and the diving ability of our young people as well, Webbo. Let us talk quickly now about the outreach for our seniors, because as I said, this is a club that is an overall club. We're trying to reach everyone. And Webbo, you would know, because our seniors used to come before the COVID, you know, they used to come here every year. Mm-hmm. And Webbo, do you know that this year marks 20 years consistently that the Empire Sports Club is doing this for the seniors of Hanley's Road. 20 years.
Because they come here every year.
Yes. And so we decided, this was also started the same year with the Boys Together for Change in 2004. And so this year marks 20 years. And we have touched over 80 people, over 80 seniors in those 20 years. In terms of them going out, we bring them here to Vaughan Radio. We do an island tour with them every year. And we take them to lunch. I remember the days when at one point in time when we started, we used to have lunch at the community center in Hanley's Road. I remember at one point we had lunch, a couple of times we had lunch up at Mount Nevis Hotel. Now we have been at the Golden Rock Hotel for the past couple of years. And Webbo, you know, because you used to see the seniors come here. And you see how excited those seniors were.
Yeah. They look forward to it.
They look forward to it. And I have to make a point here, because I know since I became a politician, I've gotten some licks because people are saying, well, you're only taking out the people of Hanley's Road. But I'm not doing it. This is an initiative of the club. I'm the president of the club. But this is an initiative of the Empire Sports Club that is taking up the residents of where the club is based. And Webbo, I hear again, I said the club is a trendsetter, because long before you had seniors programs, the club was doing this for the seniors of Hanley's Road. And so I want to say here that this is an excellent program as well that was initiated by the Empire Sports Club. And then, you know, sometimes, as I would have said, sometimes you start something and it's difficult to keep up. Well, the seniors look forward to this every year, and the club has been there to respond positively to them every year. And so I want to say that this is an initiative of the club, not an initiative of me as the Minister of Government, not an initiative of me as the area representative of St. George, but it is an initiative of the Empire Sports Club.
Okay, so we're going to try and wrap up a couple of things.
Yes.
But as you said, you want this thing to spread across the entire island.
Yes.
You think for that to be done, though, Eric, what will happen to, or how can it happen in concert with the community department of government? Because when people are given things free, there's a famous fellow who is not around now, I understand, who says anything free, take two. So when that thing out there is free, right? When we used to grow up, when I used to play cricket,
Yes.
we were so poor that you had to pay $5 for club fees. And I didn't have it because I wasn't working as yet, and I had just left school. So I rolled the wicket, you know, and so that, but nobody rolls no wicket now and so on and so forth because the government rolls the wicket. And I hear people complaining, so why you fellas don't play the cricket, but then our government now roll the wicket? You know, and so maybe when you come back next time we can discuss how we'll get the people of the other areas to get their clubs going back.
Yes.
By supporting themselves to a larger degree. Sometimes you need a little top up, you know.
Yeah, you need a little push.
Yeah, but so maybe.
But I mean, you made a good point in terms of the community development department, because the community development department is there to assist, and they're always willing and able to assist any club that is starting for the first time, or if the club is around and the club is struggling. Because at one point I was the minister with responsibility for community development, and we are always ready to help and always ready to give any little assistance that you need. And so the community development department is there to give whatever technical assistance that you require, and people should not be afraid to approach that department. They're very willing to assist.
Okay, so what else we got to cover? Because you were doing some activities for the month.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we are doing some activities for the month, and so let me just quickly mention what we are doing for the month. Yes, so many things I had to cover, Webbo, you know.
Yeah, you come back, and
Yes.
we do, because not that other things are not important, but this is a very
Yes.
important and critical area. Can I say also at this critical juncture we need to? By
Yes.
the way, for those of you who are not aware as yet, the Edric's funeral is next Tuesday, so I'll mention it a little more later on as well. Yes, go ahead.
Yes,
Eric.
for the activities for the 45th anniversary, and we normally celebrate in November, and so we started on the Sunday, the 3rd of November, with a worship service at the Zion Chapel. Then on that same day, just after service, we visited the sick and shut-in of Hanley's Road, and we distributed some care packages, and here again, they were overjoyed and overwhelmed to see us, Webbo. On Wednesday the 13th, we made 2 presentations, one at the Gingerland Secondary School and one at the Joycelyn Library Primary School, and we gave to students and their parents a monetary donation to assist with their schooling. And at the Gingerland Secondary, the person who received that was Jorick Daniel. At the Joycelyn Library Primary, the person who received it was Tiandre Elliott. And we asked the schools, the club did not have any say in terms of selecting, the schools made the selection. We asked the school to select someone who is good at academics and at sports as well. On Thursday the 14th, we did a moonlight walk from Market Shop to Zion and back. That went very well as well, Mr. Herbert. We were talking about coming here, and gone are the days when people do moonlight walks, and we were surprised to see the turnout that we had for the moonlight walk. Then of course we are here on Vaughan Radio tonight. On Sunday coming, we have a little cricket fest at Hanley's Road, since the club started out with cricket, and so we have a little cricket fest, and it will be matches will be 8 overs per side. It will be on a knockout basis. No bowler can bowl more than 1 over. White balls will result in 2 runs. White balls will not be bowled over. No balls will not be bowled over. LBW will not be used. And teams can have mixed players, both male and female. And you can register by calling any member of the club, or you can call Mr. Errol Somersall, Mr. Adelvin Phillip, or Mr. Curtis Doer. That is from 12 o'clock this coming Sunday at Hanley's Road. And then on Monday the 2nd of December, we have the annual outing for the seniors. And then on Saturday the 7th of December, we have the 35 and over dance, Webbo, and that will be happening at Lynn's Deli from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. The music will be provided by DJ Lalbo and the Smooth Vibes Band. The admission is only $30 single and $50 couple. That has always been something that people love to come to. It's something for the mature people. Here again, Webbo, we are a trendsetter, because our club is the club that started this 35 and over thing. And many other persons would have now come and latched onto it as well.
And you also the one who start dancing, and then I see Timothy dancing, Mark dancing, Trump and all. And I'm glad that well, remember I had tell you started them, right?
Precisely.
You continue dancing.
Precisely.
So you're the trendsetter?
Yes. And so these are the rest of the activity, and of course our Christmas tree lighting as well. That will be on Saturday the 21st of December. So those are the rest of the activities for the club for the rest of 2024, Webbo.
Okay, so why don't I get a final comment from Mr. Brown, and then a final comment from you, and then we get the other guys on for the rest of the show. And then Eric, still, you can always come back.
Of course.
And as you said, I want to help you with the outreach that you're doing, to let folks know. And I feel that you'll encourage other folks to, communities and so on to get back on board. Yes, Mr. Brown.
Yes, Webbo, our club is very much organized because, we have an executive with Eric Villain as the president. We have a vice president, which is Corey Maynard. The treasurer is myself. The assistant secretary treasurer is Bernard Liebert. And we have also
Secretary Catherine Joseph.
Oh, Catherine Joseph.
Yes.
So, sorry, Catherine Joseph. And Bernard Leibert is the assistant.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I got that mixed up. Also, we have a constitution. And you know, Webber, that constitution was done way back then, even before Eric came in the club. And that constitution came about by one of our young cricketers. One evening we were having a meeting, and you know, and the young guy said, why not let's put some rules together to govern the club? And he said, well, we have rules already. But he said, no, let's put them in writing. I said, wow, that's a brilliant idea. And I said, well, okay, use the young brain, go ahead and work on it. And he did, and we put a constitution together. We drafted it, we carried it to an attorney. They looked at it, they said it was quite nicely done. And, you know, they formulated for us. And the club have a constitution that governs the club. So here again, you see that, you know, our club is not just, you know, an organization that is here. We have an executive, we have a constitution that governs the club, you know, how the club should operate, how the players should conduct themselves when they are, you know, in the club uniform playing cricket, and all these things. So, you know, I would say that, you know, Empire Sports Club is a very well organized club. It's not just a club that just came along the way. It's very much well organized.
So you have the Constitution. Is there anything in the Constitution that can be deemed unconstitutional?
Well, probably maybe no.
That's just a late moment.
But we have to look at it sometime because it was done years back and it might need, you know.
Also, possibly.
We have to look at it again.
Okay, Eric.
Thank you very much, Webbo. I want to thank you very much for having us here this evening, because as I said, the club has a story to tell, and I'm happy we were able to come and share some information. We still have a lot more information to give, but I want to thank you for having us, and I want to thank all of our sponsors who have been with us over the years. I want to thank the club members, all who would have assisted in any way possible in all of what we normally do over the years, and I think the club still has a long way to go.
I think before you go, somebody perhaps want to ask you something. So,
okay.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Herbert.
Yes.
Well, Eric, you made a mistake. Not 8 overs, it's 5 overs.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. 5 overs. Thank you, Mr. Somerset.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, so as I said, Webbo, we just want to say kudos to the members of the club, and I just want to say as well, we are open to anybody who wants to join, and we are open to anyone who wants to give a donation. We do a lot of things in the community, and we are open to anybody who wants to make a donation as well. Thank you, Webbo.
Meaning on the island, not necessarily from Gingerland area.
Anywhere, or
Okay.
even off the island.
Okay.
All right?
And by the way, the registration for the club is $100.
Yes.
Once you're a new member, you pay $100, and then after that, it's $70.
$100 per day.
No, that's your registration for the year.
Right, and the
Yeah.
$70 is after that.
Annual, yeah.
Per year. Okay,
Right.
we just checking.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, and we will see you again sometime, Eric.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Webbo.
The Empire Sports Club. This is Thought That Get Results. We're back with our second segment right after this.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Builder's Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builder's Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builder's Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builder's Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts, or call them at 466-4938.
Back on this episode of Thought That Get Results. First segment featured the Empire Sports Club with Eric Evelyn, who is the president of the club, and Franklin Brown, the treasurer. Second segment. Conrad Naya Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your staff here at Von Radio and to my colleagues, Mr. Fifield. It's wonderful to be here again, Webbo, and I thought you had a quite interesting discussion before with the Empire Sports Club. What a perfect example, and maybe we can talk a little more about that.
Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to the listening public, those who are listening and those who are viewing near and far. I want to say a special good evening to Naya, the sole person in the studio with me, on my left. Webbo, we had a few graduations today. The Charleston Secondary School had theirs this morning, and the Nevis Sixth Form College had theirs this afternoon. I want to say congratulations to all those who graduated. It's indeed a milestone. There are some persons who have not, over the years, attained such milestones, so we say kudos to them. I want to say a special good evening to my daughter. She graduated from the Nevis Sixth Form College, and congratulations to her, congratulations to all who graduated. Webbo, as we're speaking about graduation, I think Thursday coming is the graduation of the Gingerland Secondary School. I have a son that will be graduating, so I want to say kudos to him and, congratulations, Webbo. Webbo, this evening, I think my fellow panelists would have indicated that we can piggyback on what Mr. Evelyn and Mr. Brown were speaking of in terms of the good example that the Empire Sports Club would have set over the years.
Okay, Roger, just permit me to mention, because I promised when we were on the earlier segment that I will let the folks know who have not known yet that Edric's funeral is next Tuesday, the 3rd. That's next Tuesday. It's in the morning, and it's at the St. John's Anglican Church in Gingerland, right? So it's not the St. George's. Mm-hmm. That don't make no sense, right? It's St. John's in Gingerland. Okay, so it's at the St. George's Anglican Church. Everything I say, there's method to the madness. I now know why I said the St. John's Anglican Church in Gingerland. Anybody knows why I said that?
St. George and Gingerland is basically one in terms of the Anglican. Okay.
Why Naya?
Well, because he lives close to the St. John's Anglican Church.
He lived in St. John's and he ran in Gingerland.
You're just like Edric now. No, what happens is the services at St. George and the burial interment is in St. John's.
Gotcha.
St. John's Fig Tree.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
home.
yeah, so that's what happens. So anyways, it's at the St. George's Anglican Church. I think it starts at 12:30. Yeah, 12:30, and then the interment will be at the St. John Fig Tree Cemetery. So that's what happens. Okay, Roger, you were speaking. Go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that the Empire Sports Club, I think that it is indeed a club that would have been an example to for most clubs here on Island, Mr. Herbert. Just on the outside, my colleague Naya, he was asking me if I'm part of that club. I'm never a part of that club, but what I would say that I would have played football for the Empire Sports Club some years ago, for a few years, and living in the same area, the Gingerland area, more east, Zion Webb's Ground area, and of course we have a club there, the Easterns Cricket Club, and we also had a community club that is basically dormant, but the cricket club is there still.
Well, I was just trying to imagine more clubs functioning, to the extent of the Hanley's Road Empire Sports Club, because I think once upon a time, Nevis was filled with a lot of clubs. But you see, they have taken it beyond the avenue of sports and dealing with other aspects of human development. And I think that's what makes it special. Celebrating 45 years is quite a long time, and it seems to be getting more vibrant with the people. I suppose the personality of someone like Eric Evelyn being the president for over 20 years, 24 years, I think that has contributed a lot to the fabric of the club in terms of its functionality and its scope in terms of community activity, knowing that he himself, as he has testified tonight, has been dealing with the community all his life. So I think that is a very special ingredient to the longevity of the club. And I try to imagine for a bit other villages having clubs. And as I said, once upon a time there was a lot of sports clubs on island, and the competition that used to happen here in Nevis, to me was something good and something that we should always welcome again, because it brings the people together. It finds worth in people's life as it relates to things to do at afternoons and evenings and so forth. And we had this kind of internal thing which was happening on a serious level, because when I stopped to think, almost every village had some kind of big club happening.
So here's the thing, Naya. I wanted, maybe what I should have done is let them fellows hold on and just add the two of you, because before the program we went on here, Eric and I were speaking briefly about the same topic, and as you mentioned, that's an area we were talking about. So I want to engage you to ask you, so that's what we used to do, and so I want to ask you, how come we don't do it now?
That's what I want to ask you too.
But there are more questions than answers then.
Yeah.
So let's ask Fifield, how come it doesn't happen now?
Well, what I believe happened, as the club, Empire Sports Club, would have been around for a number of years. I didn't get the exact year.
I think they said over
45 years.
45 years.
Okay, 45 years. So that's something close to back in the maybe 70s, thereabout, if my maths is correct.
79.
Okay, great. So what I believe, Webbo, is that, of course, these clubs would have some sort of social activities back then. Back then, you wouldn't have found, maybe internet and television and cellular phones and stuff like that. So persons, I believe, would have looked, for somewhere to go to congregate and, to socialize and stuff like that. And I believe that happened, and that foster and, persons coming together, Ghana persons coming together and stuff like that. And that would have been happening for a number of years. And I believe because of that, and, the commitment that the individuals have, that make up that particular club, I believe, and the cohesiveness and the camaraderie. As I say, I wasn't a part of the club, but I was around the club, in some aspect, so I have an idea. And what I can say for persons that I know who are part of that club, Webbo, is that they are dedicated. So you would have
but just by way of information, and it might help your thought process, it's not the same people who started it are still there. Just for your information. Because you're making the point that they had this commitment and so on and so forth, but the club is still going on, but the same people are not there.
Right. Well, this is exactly what I'm saying, Webbo. Because of the, if I could put it as the forefathers, because of the culture that they created, the camaraderie, the cohesiveness, they attract persons to the club.
Yeah, but in the interest of time, I'm going to cross-examine you well fast. So the other clubs in the other areas that Naya spoke about that used to be, so they didn't have the culture?
Probably they had a bit of the culture, but maybe not the camaraderie, maybe not the dedication, you know.
Naya, you will disagree with him, right? Of course they had the camaraderie.
To a certain extent. No, not fully, because I suppose it takes a bit of all that type of stuff as well. Geography, you know, down Hanley's Road, almost a sector, a peninsula of the island in a sense. Maybe that says something.
Oh, okay, all right.
Maybe that says something, you know. But I suppose I think the exodus of people out of Nevis must be mentioned, you know. A lot of people have left the island, and somehow things wasn't that feeling of whatever it was.
Anybody ever heard you can't do nothing about the wind, but you can adjust your sails?
Yes.
Yes, that is so true.
And
So sometimes when I hear us, you know, say, well, this factor happened and this factor happened and so on and so forth, we're not adjusting the sails, right?
Yeah, but the sails are made properly too, in order for it to catch the wind properly.
Webbo, maybe the Empire Sports Club would have probably adjusted their sail, because when you really look at it, you know, there are a number of persons who would have moved out of Hanley's Road. Some, of course, you know, who were part of the club in the early years.
Right, and they also have the technological advances that you mentioned that might have caused the other clubs to go drift away. Right, so they have that to deal with as well, but yet they soldier on.
And one of the things too that I heard Mr. Evelyn said that I believe is constructive is that, you know, for over 20 years they would have had this senior program going on, and when persons look on and they probably see their grandma, their grandfather, you know, being taken out and being taken care of the club, that might have given them, you know, some interest in terms of want to be part of the club and want the club to see the longevity of the club and stuff like that. So all of those coupled together might be aspects and part and parcels of persons wanting to be part of that particular group. Webbo,
how much, if any, do you think the government, through its community department, doing a lot of these functions, how much that contribute, if any, to it? Now I asked Mr. Evelyn basically the same question. We didn't have a lot of time because it was basically at the end, but his immediate response was that the government departments is there set up to support and not to replace. So how do you see it?
I think he's correct. And I think he mentioned the fact that, you know, too many people always depend on the government, you know, for reasons to exist, and not just reasons, but for, you know, other contribution to go on and carry on. But
too many people depend on the government, you say. Is it possible that the government is who cause these people to depend on them?
Part and parcel, yes, of course. It's a type of thing happening because it's the way you catch a fish, you know, and then, you know, you become, you know, the people become dependent on the government, and the government see themselves as very important to the existence of. And so, you know, there is a reward, I suppose, when the due time come, when the government want their X and so forth. But I think in collaboration with other departments, you know, not just in the community, maybe in sports and so forth, because sometimes it's a structure that really is in place, you know. I think, okay, for instance, look at netball. Netball seems to have went down the drain in Nevis, and it looked like every little village used to have a netball that gathered a lot of momentum and enthusiasm in a big way. I remember, in the church ground, tuxedos, all-stars, Browning netball, and I find the breakdown of the structure, the organization that had fuel or support or encourage, the netballers seems to had a problem in some way or the other, and therefore all these little clubs that create such nice competition amongst the people seems to have fallen apart. And I probably can see the same thing about probably football and even cricket. There are other factors, of course, that lead to the disintegration or the lack of interest or the shift of interest. But I think nothing in particular one can point to, but it's the coming together of other areas, as it relates to government, youth and community sports and all these type of things. And the structure that is in place sometimes is the highest or the best form of encouragement to get people involved and keep these clubs alive. And I think when we got that culture of competitiveness, even in our festive occasion, we can have the best coming out. If say clubs exist, and we have a Queen show based on the many clubs and villages, and then at the end of the year we have people who are well tuned, in performance, in people's relations and so forth, and we will optimize our product, and I think the breaking down of a lot of clubs and the competitiveness that once exists leads to a lower standard of deliverance and expectations, and I think we do suffer from that here. Sometimes they say our level of expectation sometimes is a bit low, and sometimes when we see standards which is mediocre, and sometimes for political correctness we'll say it's good, it was good, and we need to be very serious about that. If we ought to see our standards, become one of, great noticeableness in the region and even locally.
Webbo, one of the things that, going back to your prior question, in terms of why, maybe I'm slanting it a bit, why this particular organization has been going from strength to strength. When we look at the two gentlemen that were in studio prior to us, we would recognize that these are men who would have been a part of the executive, a part of the leadership of that particular group for a number of years. These two men, what I know of them, they are dedicated persons. People look up to them in not just the Hanley's Road area, but the wider Gingerland area. And when you have persons, in an organization that people look up to, people would, gravitate towards them, towards the organization. This, in a few words, I would say leadership that you can trust, leadership that no doubt the people, the persons who are part of the club would have trust over the years. And there's a saying that if it is not broken, don't change it. And probably hence, the reason why Mr. Evelyn has been, the president for so many years. And I believe that he's doing a wonderful job. If he wasn't, then of course, I don't think he would have been president for this long. So people look at, they look at the pattern of growth. They look at who are in leadership. If it is persons who have integrity, persons who they trust, and they would naturally gravitate towards them. I believe, Webbo, and I believe that is one of the reasons, the Empire Sports Club is moving from strength to strength. And I believe also too, Webbo, they try to to incorporate a number of little things, Webbo, that would attract persons. From time to time, I know that they travel, for example, to St. Martin, and they don't only take, the cricketers. They took other club members and stuff like that. They do little things in the community. They do sponsorship, of persons. They do things if in terms of if you're a member of the club and something probably happened to one of your child or children, they would assist in whatever way. So these are all small initiatives that I believe that people would attract persons to be a part of the club. And of course, in recent times, a few years ago, they would have partnered with Culturama, to bring back the aquatic sports and stuff like that. So that is something that especially the older persons would have missed, and I believe now that the younger persons, have caught on, and it has created some excitement and stuff. So all of this, brings some sort of excitement, and persons want to come towards the club, Webbo.
You're correct. They have been quite innovative throughout the many years. The gentleman that was there with Mr. Evelyn, Mr. Brown, no?
Yes.
I mean, he's been there from the inception of the club.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that says a lot, 45 years. But I think I mentioned the word geography, and Hanley's Road being a kind of peninsula, in a sense, I mean, you've seen the Eric mentioned when the white in the middle of the road was getting a bit fade, they involve themselves, in a kind of preservation kind of way down there, the Christmas tree is a real tree, and that says to me that says a lot to me, because it's something they planted, it's something they see grow, something they nourish, and something they use yearly, to beautify the place, and I think somehow it's a beacon to many clubs on island in terms of the outreach. You can simply say, well, we're going to kind of copy what they're doing and impact, and nothing is wrong with that. And so I would encourage those little clubs who do exist. I mean, they can look upon the Empire Sport Club and take 1 or 2 pages from their book, really, because to me it's almost a perfect example, and it seems to be expanding in their outreach. I know they play cricket. You say you played football for them, and they've been saying that they're now, even though it seems to be in the past was mostly a male dominant, they are now seeing a lot of females being a part of it.
They actually had a female cricket team at some point in time with in the 90s, I think. It was a really good cricket team. I can remember persons like Lilith Walters Richards, her sister Charmin. Those two were really good cricketers, and a number of others too that probably names that come in to mind readily. I believe my aunt Diana would have played for them. I know she played for Easterns. I believe she would have played for Hanley's Road too. And these are really good female cricketers. There's a Chapman, she passed of blessed memory. The name slips me, but she was a wonderful cricketer, probably one of Navy's best cricketer. She was one of the persons that could have what we call bring over hand. She could have bring over hand. She was really compact. I believe too that Nurse Patsy would have played for them. She was another good cricketer too. A number of good cricketers. So they have the female aspect too. I think the female aspect in terms of cricket, cricket team, I don't think that is there now. But what when we look at the club and how the club, the composition of the club, we see persons, not just from Hanley's Road. We see persons from basically all parts of Nevis who are now part of that club. When we go to Panel, there are persons from Panel, there are persons from Chickenstone, Cox and stuff who are part of this particular club in Hanley's Road. based in Hanley's Road. So I believe that, they have the ability, to attract persons in whatever way, and I believe maybe what they need to do, is to give, certain, clubs, their secret, so we could have more clubs, that are vibrant and stuff like that. I remember over the years too, the Hanley's Road cricket. I think back then they used to be a second division team, and that's another thing too. The Hanley's Road team was a second division team, and they would have get promoted to the first division team. And when they were part of the second division setup back in the early mid 80s, I can recall, they having cricket exchange, used to come to Zion and play and stuff like that. Of course, I was much younger, but I can recall those. And then over the years, that they would have grown to be a force to be reckoned with in Nevis in terms of cricket. And they would have produced a number of cricketers who would have represented Nevis. Curtis Tatix, though he comes to mind readily. Joel Simmons, he comes to mind. Branson Lands of blessed memory. Of course, how can I forget Jan the dentist Maynard, Clive Evelyn, that's the brother of Eric. Gary Pemberton, a number of persons would have represented.
Powell?
Young Powell, Alan and Kyron Powell, I believe, if memory serves me right, would have also played. I believe Ronaka would have played for them at some point in time, maybe a season or two. So a number of persons, and when we look at Kyron Powell, for example, he would have went on to make the West Indies team. As I said, I believe Ronaka would have played for them, and younger persons seeing these guys going on to play cricket at the highest level. Of course, they would want to be like them, and if they want to be like them, I suppose they would say, how can I be like you? I am from the area. Then get into the club, be a part of the club. And this is one of the reasons why, or another reason why I think that the growth of the club would have been continuous over the years.
Yes, but I mean, we have seen that people, not just from Hanley Road, from all over the island, it seems like, it seems to want to be a part of the club, and that says one thing to me. It says that people wants to get involved with something that's progressive. Something that is far-reaching, and doing things, so why not other villages find themselves involved in such a progressive, develop some kind of progressive organization? I mean, we had them once upon a time. I mean, you have said that people from the general area now wants to be a part of that club. So, are we lacking in people? What can I say? Conviction to the extent that we can't find say people in Brownhill who we can't find people in Overbat who I mean, what is that quality that Eric and Mr. Brown possesses that seems to be lacking throughout the island, while people from all over the island want to join that club?
Now, I believe one of the fundamental thing is the foundation. I believe
nobody want to dig no foundation.
Well, that might be part and parcel of the problem. But I believe the Hanley's Road Club, the Empire Sports Club, the foundation would have been there. I think that it's a solid foundation, and when you have a solid foundation, it is much easier for you to build on, and as you alluded to a while ago, maybe persons, do not want to build a foundation. It takes effort, it takes time, And so maybe persons may feel more comfortable moving from their area, and going to Hanley's Road to be part of a club that, would have been tested over the years, tried and tested and still surviving, still floating, nicely.
They have a string band down there?
Their members were part of string band, various string bands.
Eric played with the string band.
I believe that he played with the Honeybees string band. That is from the general Gingerland area.
Okay.
And I think that there's another gentleman, I think Starrod, who plays for the Sugar Hill string band. So there are persons from Hanley's Road who play in various string bands. And of course there are other persons in Hanley's Road who play for various string bands.
Do you know Hanley's Road has a culture of very skilled people, very skilled contractors, masons, and so forth?
Yes.
Can you comment on that? Do you know that?
Of course, and what I would say, I would dare say Gingerland. I believe that Gingerlanders are hard-working people. Gingerland are skilled persons. A lot of persons too may not have known, that Hanley's Road had back in the day the best, arguably the best masquerade troupe in Nevis. You had persons like Black Jan from Zion used to play with them. You had my two brothers, Frank and Winston. You had persons like Redhead, and I think Jokang would have played for them, dance for them. A number of persons, really good. Masqueraders. And when I say good masqueraders, I mean really good masqueraders. Persons, the correct name is eluding me, but Joe Preppy, he was from the Zion area. Lenny and those guys from the Zion area, they would have migrated and probably in the USVIR somewhere. But these are persons who, so Hanley's Road would have, from long time ago, attracting persons from various areas, because these guys that I call last here, they were from the Zion area, and they came, and you speak to mason work and stuff like that. You have skilled masons. You have Gagu and those guys. You have the Slim Booger, Clive Evelyn. You have so many.
I mean, these are big one who we know, but there's a lot of small masons, people involved in construction in the past, came out of Hanley Road.
Even the same Mr. Bond that was here, Hammond. He's a skilled mason.
Okay.
So there are number of persons. They would have produced kings. King Ginger. They would have produced queens. Marcia Maynard, I believe that she would have came queen back in 1986, I believe. That's the sister of John the Dentist Maynard. So
she went to sixth form. Yeah, she went to sixth form. In fact, I was down Hanley's Road on Sunday, all the way down, and it's the headquarters for the horse race.
Yes.
And why? Why not the horse race? Why not the horse race?
I think
everything gone.
If we're going to speak about horse race, I think it's going to open up another kind of worm, and I believe that probably would merit a program
by itself
and to itself.
One of the most exciting things.
Yes,
Nevis had.
And then the thing about the horse racing,
and the track was excellent.
Right, and the thing about the horse racing, and I suppose Hanley's Road people felt, because every
not to cut you off, but you think that all this have to do with the persons, the people in the area? Because I'm wondering whether or not we don't have the same people across, whether it is Hanley's Road, St. James, Jessup, etc. but I don't know if I'm understanding you all correctly, but you seem to be suggesting that these things are successful because it is that group of people, and I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just trying to understand.
Well, I would say, Hanley's Road became the spotlight tonight because we're talking about the sport club and we tend to be highlighting, the good things that come from there. And when I speak to the masons and skilled people, I know for sure that there's a lot of that really, and continue to come out of Hanley's Road for sure. And as I said, I was down Hanley's Road on Sunday, and I reflected upon things like the horse race and all that type of stuff. Especially now the road is good, because Hanley's Road was always a bit of a rough road going down and coming up. And I remember the times in the past going down and looking at the massive crowd down there at the horse race, and so that came to mind. It's something that we probably should have still have happening, and why not?
Well, I believe that, let's hope that it is sooner rather than later that, persons who have the ability, persons who know how this thing work would come together and get the horse racing back on stream. I believe that there are still persons out there who are lovers of horse and who are lovers of horse racing, and I believe that it probably just take the right set of persons to come together, collectively. They are probably out there, scattered, so to speak. But if they can come together, and I believe horse racing could be the number one sport again right here in Nevis.
Maybe we'll take the Empire Sport Club to be a big player in that. But I must say kudos to that sport club. Kudos to Eric and his organization. Mr. Brown, I think, is a perfect example here in Nevis and maybe throughout the Federation. It is probably one of the biggest and established club throughout the Federation, really. And I'm proud of them, to be quite honest, and the scope in which they exist and the many areas of life which they have touched, for Nevisian people and for people. In the general area in Gingerland, I especially like to hear about the acknowledgement and the good times that they give to the senior citizens, really, and as you said, that might have been one of their keynotes, in their survival, because once you're dealing with the old people, then the young people will recognize you as a positive force. And of course, if you're treating grandmom and granddad with that respect, it's quite easy to have you, in the upper part of one's mind and good place.
Webbo, I don't know if you can permit me quickly, Webbo, just to say that it's Christmas coming up, and the Christmas season is on, and we at Zion, we would have started erecting, well, not quite erecting, but we have started to take out the poles, the pipe and stuff like that, and we really would encourage persons to come and help. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest Christmas tree light in an island. It's a lot of work, and we're asking persons of the community, persons from wherever you are, please to come. You can come along any day, and assist, and we would be really grateful.
Quickly, why do you think people don't participate voluntarily and so now?
It's a really good question, Webbo. I believe that once upon a time they used to, but I think what has crept in is that, somewhere along the line, persons started to get rewarded, in some manner, probably financially, and I believe after persons would have realized this, persons, they just withdraw and, probably do not want to probably, assist unless they have been paid.
Maybe, tell me if this makes sense. I always tell people, don't let other people make you be who you are not. In other words, if you like to give, don't, because Naya don't give, don't decide you're not giving either.
Exactly, because you may not even know why Naya don't give.
You're not Naya.
Exactly.
Or maybe you want to be Naya.
Volunteerism, that's what Eric says is case.
Yes.
And so we got to be mindful of that. You really shouldn't be asking people, because I know the Christmas tree, and so many people go to Zion to see that beauty, and I'm surprised that you can't find people.
Maybe that's their part to see. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock, following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On the Mark. Join Keith Scarborough on Thursday evening at 8 o'clock for Government at Work. A place to spend all of your evenings right here on the Eastern Caribbean Spa House. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the